I saved for 2 years to take my husband to Greece, his dream destination. On day 3, I got food poisoning and stayed in the hotel room.
He went sightseeing without me. Or so he said.
I found a receipt for 2 dinners at a rooftop restaurant with a handwritten note. To us. No more hiding. I pretended not to know. Took couple photos. Laughed with him. But when we got home, I tagged her in every vacation post and let the comments explode. I've never told anyone this story in full. Not even my sister. Not even my therapist. But I'm ready now.
I need to say it.
Maybe someone out there needs to hear it. Maybe it'll keep someone else from feeling as stupid as I felt. Brad and I had been married for 8 years when I planned the trip. He was my first real love. Not a flashy guy, he didn't do poetry or big gestures, but he had this quiet charm. The kind of man who could fix anything with his hands. The kind who always made sure your gas tank was full. We met at a friend's party in Charlotte. I spilled beer on his boots. He said, "Well, now I gotta talk to you." That was it. We started dating a week later. We moved to Asheville after we got married. I worked the front desk at a middle school. Brad was a mechanic. He didn't love it, but he was good at it. We had a little 2-bedroom house with peeling paint and a busted porch light that he never got around to fixing. Life was simple. Not perfect, but ours. Brad always wanted to go to Greece. He'd bring it up every few months, like clockwork. "One day, babe, I'll show you the cliffs of Santorini." He even joked once that we should retire there. At first, I thought he was just dreaming. But I started noticing how serious he was about it. He followed Greek photographers online, watched travel vlogs late at night. One Christmas, he gave me a cookbook called Tastes of the Aegean. "Practice for the future," he said. So I made it a goal. We couldn't afford much. I started small. I opened a savings account and called it the Blue Dream. I'd put away $10 here, $20 there. Sometimes more when I picked up extra shifts or sold stuff on Facebook Marketplace. I told Brad we were just trying to build an emergency fund. I didn't want him to know. I wanted it to be a surprise. It took 2 years. I canceled my birthday plans, skipped haircuts, made our anniversary dinner at home instead of going out. Every penny I saved, I put toward that trip. The day I surprised him was his 38th birthday. I gave him a card with a picture of a white house with a blue dome roof and the Aegean Sea in the background. Inside, I taped the itinerary and 2 plane tickets. I'll never forget the look on his face. He just stared at it. Then he put his hand over his mouth, and his eyes welled up. "You really did this?" he whispered. I said, "We're going in May." He hugged me for a long time, called me his whole world. For the first 2 days in Athens, it was magic. The food, the sights, the smell of fresh olives and sea salt in the air. We took pictures in front of the Acropolis. Ate too much feta. Brad kept saying, "This is everything I imagined." I felt proud. I felt like I had given him something he truly loved. Then day 3 came. I woke up with a burning pain in my stomach. I was sweating, freezing, nauseous. I barely made it to the bathroom before everything came up. It hit hard and fast. I couldn't move for hours. Brad sat with me for a bit, but around noon he said, "I should get out for a bit. Don't want to waste the day, right?" I told him to go. I didn't want to hold him back. He kissed my forehead and said, "I'll bring you something light for dinner." He left around 2 p.m. Came back at 10. Said he went to the ancient agora and walked the streets. Showed me a few photos of old ruins. Said the food wasn't great, so he just had something quick. He smelled like wine and cologne, but I was too sick to think much of it. Or maybe I just didn't want to think. The next morning I was still weak. Brad offered to get supplies. While he was out, I looked through his bag for my charger. That's when I found the receipt. It was tucked inside a paper bag. I pulled it out, curious at first. Then I saw the restaurant name, Lycabettus View. I remembered it from my planning. A romantic rooftop place with a perfect view of the Acropolis lit up at night. The receipt was from the night before. 2 main courses, 2 glasses of wine, a shared dessert, €128. At the bottom, In handwriting that wasn't his, it said, "To us. No more hiding. S." I sat on the edge of the bed, staring at that paper. My hands started shaking. My heart dropped. It wasn't just dinner. It was a confession. S. I ran through the names.
Then it hit me.
Stephanie. She worked the front counter at the auto shop. She was always a little too friendly when I dropped by. Big eyes. Big laugh. She called him Brad. Brad came back an hour later. I smiled, took the drink from him, told him I was feeling better, asked if we could take pictures tomorrow since I'd missed out the day before. He lit up. You sure? That'd be great.
So, we went out.
We took selfies, held hands, acted like nothing was wrong. I leaned into him in every photo. I smiled like my heart wasn't breaking. I kissed his cheek and told him I loved him. And the whole time, that receipt sat in the bottom of my purse, burning a hole in my soul. I decided then I wasn't going to confront him in Greece. He didn't deserve to have his trip ruined.
No.
I wanted him to believe it was perfect. I wanted him to remember it as the best time of his life. I wanted him relaxed.
Happy.
Completely unaware. Because the real trip, the real journey, was about to begin when we got home. When we got back to Asheville, it was a Sunday night. The house smelled musty. Our cat, Penny, didn't even come to the door. I remember walking in and thinking how small everything felt after Greece. Brad was humming. He tossed his bag on the couch, kicked off his shoes, and stretched like he had just come back from a spa. Back to the grind, he said. I smiled. Said I was going to upload our photos. He didn't even offer to help. Just turned on the game and cracked a beer. I went into the bedroom, locked the door, and started tagging.
Every
single photo. Us holding hands under the temple of Poseidon.
Tagged.
Us on the ferry to Santorini.
Tagged.
That selfie where I'm kissing his cheek in front of a white and blue chapel. Tagged. I tagged Stephanie in all of them. She had no idea what was coming. I made sure my captions sounded sweet and emotional. A dream come true with my forever love. Worth every penny to see that smile. Some dreams are worth waiting for. And then I hit post. It took 5 minutes. First comment. Wait, isn't that? 10 minutes. Stephanie liked one of the photos. Then unliked it. Then her profile went private. 20 minutes. Brad's cousin Mark commented, "Dude, you're kidding me." I waited. Brad came into the bedroom an hour later. Phone in his hand. Face pale. "What did you do?" I looked him dead in the eyes and said, I made sure she got the vacation memories too.
He didn't speak.
Just kept staring. His hands were shaking. "You think I didn't know?" I asked. Still nothing. I pulled the receipt from the nightstand. Tossed it at him. "This," I said. "This was your big secret?" He looked like he wanted to lie. Like he was searching for something to say. Then he sat down, covered his face, and started to cry. "I didn't mean for it to happen," he choked out. I don't know. I felt lost. You were always working.
Saving.
You didn't even notice I was slipping away." That's when I snapped. "I was saving for you," I shouted. "I gave up everything for 2 years so you could have your dream. And you spent it with her?" He got quiet again. "She made me feel seen," he said. That sentence. That was the one that made something inside me turn cold. The comments on the posts kept rolling in. His aunt, my coworkers, even a girl he used to date years ago chimed in with, "Wow. Typical." Stephanie didn't respond. But she didn't delete her account either. The next morning, he called in sick. I went to work like nothing happened. But something had changed. I wasn't crying. I wasn't shaking. I was planning. By the end of that week, everyone at the school knew. Teachers, office staff, even the janitor, Gary, who usually kept to himself, gave me a sympathetic nod when I walked past. I didn't post anything else. I didn't need to. The pictures were doing the work for me. What I didn't expect was the message I got Friday night. It came from Stephanie's fiancé.
Yeah.
Fiancé. His name was Darren. I'd never met him, but I'd seen his name pop up in her comments before. Always something like, "Can't wait to marry you," or "Counting down the days." His message was short. "Can we talk?" I stared at it for a long time. Finally typed back, "Sure. Tomorrow, 3 p.m., coffee house on Henderson." We met outside. He looked like he hadn't slept in days. His hands were trembling. He sat down across from me, didn't order anything, just opened his phone and showed me screenshots. Texts between Brad and Stephanie. Long ones.
Some were sweet.
Some were gross. Some were from months back. A few from before I even started planning the trip. One message from Brad, a month before we left, said, "I'll find a way to make time for us in Greece. I owe you that much." I felt sick. Darren looked at me and said, "I canceled the wedding. She moved out last night. You deserve to know everything." I didn't cry. I think I had no more tears left for any of this. "Thanks," I said quietly. That night, I got home and found Brad asleep on the couch. He'd been staying quiet all week. Said he needed space to think. But I knew what he was really doing. He was waiting to see if I would forgive him. He thought if he kept his head down, I'd cool off. I stood there watching him. This man I loved. This man I gave everything to. I used to see him as someone solid, dependable, safe. Now I saw a coward in a stretched-out t-shirt, snoring with one sock on, and his phone clutched in his hand like a lifeline. That's when I made my decision. But before I did anything big, I had one more thing to do. I called Brad's cousin, his boss, Mark. I told him about the affair, about the rooftop dinner, about the texts. I didn't ask him to fire Brad. I just told him the truth. Mark was quiet. Then he said, "He's been skipping shifts, showing up late. Now this." I didn't reply. "I'll handle it," Mark said. The next day, Brad was let go. Mark told him the shop needed to clean house. I knew it was more than that. Mark's wife saw the vacation photos too, and she was friends with my sister. Now Brad was jobless. Stephanie was gone. The town was talking. People stopped waving at him in the grocery store. 2 weeks after the trip, I sat across from Brad at our kitchen table. I had put everything in front of him. My printed bank statements, the budget spreadsheet, every receipt I had from the trip. It was all marked, saved from scratch. For us. He looked at it all and didn't say a word. "I want a divorce," I said, calm and clear. He finally looked up. "Can't we talk about this?" I pushed a folder toward him. It had the divorce papers. Filled out, just needed his signature. "No," I said. "You already talked. With her. On my vacation." He stared at the papers, then at me. "I made a mistake." "No," I said. "You made a choice." He signed them without a fight. Maybe he knew there was nothing left. Maybe he knew how badly he'd ruined everything. That night, I packed his clothes into trash bags and left them by the door. He slept in his truck. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I didn't throw things. I just cleaned the kitchen, folded some laundry, and went to bed. The next morning, I posted one last photo. It was the one of him smiling under the Santorini sunset. The caption read, "This smile cost me 2 years of savings, 12 pounds from stress, and the last bit of trust one had. But don't worry." He shared it with someone else too. #BonVoyageBrad. It went viral in our town. The comments were brutal. Some people called him trash. Others said I was cold for airing it out. But I didn't care. I'd stayed silent long enough. I sold my wedding ring for $600. Took that money and drove to the coast. Spent 2 nights in Wilmington, right on the beach. No one knew where I was. No one called. I didn't even post pictures. I sat on the sand and watched the waves and thought about who I was before Brad. And who I might be now. I'm not innocent either. I kept quiet too long. I ignored signs. I let guilt and fear keep me from asking hard questions. I thought if I gave enough, loved enough, saved enough, he'd stay true. But love doesn't work like that. Sometimes, people take your best and hand it to someone else. And when that happens, you take it back. every last piece of it.